Hey guys, what is up? Lord Nick here, bringing you another League of Legends related video. In this video, we're going to be talking about Trundle the Troll King. I want to talk about my general jungle path with this champion, my general build path with this champion, and the reason why I have dubbed it the PVE Trundle build, and go over all these things and my reasonings for behind what I do as him. First up, we're going to be covering the jungle path that I generally go on him. This would be a kind of quick guide overall as well, guys, except for the fact that this is going to take a little while because I got to show you my general pathing for him. So, my general pathing, guys, starts off in the enemy jungle. I generally start in the enemy top side of their jungle just because their top laner is most likely not defending it. If they are defending it, oh well, they see me. And if they try to fight me, as long as I'm not being collapsed on by the jungle, their mid, and their top laner, and my top laner is there, or just absent, you know, we'll be able to fight them. If my top laner is absent, we'll be in a bit of a rough spot. If my top laner is generally there, we'll be fine. Now, if you see here, I've started just a little bit farther behind than I should be, and this is just to kind of showcase, you know, a little bit of what I do when I start a little bit later than the enemy jungle. Sometimes I know somebody's trying to watch me, and so I'll sneak in a little bit late because I know I don't want them to catch me. If I sneak in late, though, I generally don't path up through here. I will path this way just because it's a faster way to the buff. So, I've already kind of screwed up a little bit here, just by hitting one of the minions there, and I've taken a lot of extra damage that I needed to. This also helps showcase what's going to happen here if you do screw up with it. So generally there, I only hit the big chicken, and I kind of ignore the small ones there, but I kind of fucked it up. So we'll start off by just doing this real quick. You can take this big crab really fast as well, and then just kind of move this way. So I'm under half health. This is not optimal in any way. This is slightly suboptimal. What you want to generally do is you take their red, you take their chicken, take their top Krug, and the biggest reason is that they're going to be massively behind you now. Because now if I take my blue buff, I'll be level 3. They'll be getting their top lane, or their top side jungle usually about the time that I'm finishing this up. And in most cases, I don't have to use my pot to finish clearing my jungle. This time around, I might have to just because I kind of screwed up there while trying to talk and show you guys what I do. But usually I'll save it, and then I can do kind of a late, an early dragon later and use it for that. I generally also go my pillar third, but because now I'm a little bit behind what I generally am, I'll take a second rank in my queue to make sure I level up a little bit better off of this and heal up a little better as well. So every time, if you don't know what Trundle's passive does, anytime something dies, you gain a percentage of their maximum health around you. Champions, minions, anything. So if you're ignited and you know you're not going to possibly live through it, try to kill some minions nearby, because one, you're going to gain some health from hitting the minions, two, you're going to gain some health from just killing the thing nearby. So also with this is that because I don't have my pillar, I don't clear the crab nearly as well, so this crab I might actually have to smite if I was afraid that the enemy jungler would be coming down to it. So if I've seen that they're in the top jungle, I always path for this crab, no matter what anyways, first, just because I want to make sure that I get it. But now that I've taken it, I'm level 4, I'm pretty hefty in this, and if they haven't gotten this crab, if they haven't gotten here, and they haven't actually cleared their chickens, my enemy jungler is going to be level 2, most likely. Unless they've done a full clear of their bot side, which sometimes they do, they'll be level 3 at best, and so there's no way that they can really contest me right now as I have a level advantage and I'm up on HP. But by the time that I come down here, I should be able to path over here, put down a ward, and you note that I have not gone to my red buff yet, and the reason I haven't gone there is I want to maximize my ability to steal their camps. So I've taken my entire top side because efficiently Trundle can clear the top side really fast. He's really good at clearing top side jungle. He's not so great at clearing bot side of jungle without Tiamat. And that's why most people go the Tiamat build. I avoid it just because I don't think it's really all that effective of an item overall for him. If I'm afraid that they're going to take the scuttle, I'll take the scuttle first, but most people will be pathing at this point to clear their chickens when they realize that I've taken the top crab already. And then they'll avoid coming to this crab, so I don't really have to worry about them taking it. So now I've taken the crab, I've taken the gromp, and I'm already almost to level 5. I'm going to take my red buff now, and I will be level 5, in which then I will go over here to this dragon and take it right after. And generally, by the time I finish this red, I'm level 5, the plant is up, and I have a vision ward over here, so that I know where they are. So plant isn't up yet, so we just kind of wait for plant to spawn. We don't hit this plant because we don't want them to know that I'm clearing vision here, because in most cases, early game, somebody has not roamed up to put a vision ward here at all. If I know that they're gonna see me at their red and I can't get a vision ward for it, like they just have their top laner is just hanging around here, I won't put down my red ward at that time. I'll hold on to it for this dragon. just so I can sneak this, because if they just hang around just to watch me so they get the timers for their jungler, that's cool. You know, if they're not putting down a ward and going to lane, one, it's delaying their top laner from going to lane properly, and it saves me my red ward. So at this point, I'm level 5, I've gotten the first dragon, I have a pretty good sizable lead in farm, and so at this point you buy your first bits, which I usually will buy into red and 2 of my daggers, and then 2 red wards and a sweeper, and this just allows for large vision control early and allows you for good solo clear. So let's talk about the actual build while I'm going around and showing you the last bit of the early clear. So at this point, I should have probably about a level, if not a 2-level lead on the enemy jungler. If they've tried to fight me at any point now, I've probably killed them and now have about a 3-level lead on them. If they try to fight me at any point, I will kill them, delay their time to go clear stuff, and then go clear whatever is the biggest, most efficient thing for them to clear, which in most cases is Gromp, which is also why this build works so well, is that I will kill Gromp really fast and really healthily, and that's really, really good. Gromp has a lot of HP, which makes him usually really hard for people to kill, and does a decent chunk of damage, which means taking him means you're going to take a lot of damage back from it. Trundle heals off of him dying, and heals from hitting him, so overall, you just stay at almost full health every time you fight Gromp and Wolves, because Wolves is basically a camp of 3, you know, independent minions that you can just kill and gain a decent amount of hit points off of, and then all in all, look at that, I'm still max HP, I've used very, very little mana, and I have control of this side of the map. I can go back up here and take his red buff before this Rift Herald spawns, and if he tries to contest me here, I can kill him again, unless somebody else is coming. But usually I will beat them to this buff because he's either backed or doing his blue right now. So you then drag it into the bush that you usually have a ward in, unless he's cleared it. In which you have a sweeper, so you can actually sweep here if you have to, but you know, usually you don't. If they don't come to contest it, cool, you just get to kill it. You're level 6, you go over this wall, make sure they don't have any vision here. Okay, cool, no vision, and it's going to spawn in 20 seconds. So really there's no reason to go and path down here, though it's more efficient for me to go get that crab, and it's a better use of my time. I don't really want them to know that I'm going for this. So what I can do is I can leave a ward here knowing that my blue is about to spawn as well, and I can kind of just, you know, wait it out. See if either of these lanes are pushing up. If either of these lanes are pushing up, I can go make a pressure in that lane and kind of try to pull their jungler to that spot, in which then usually I'll try for mid lane just because it will pull him a little bit farther away from me, and he has no reason to come contest. Usually he'll also be checking his red about this time, so I shouldn't also... I also try not to do it this close to the wall because of that reason. Right now I'm not doing it the most optimal way, just because I'm just kind of showcasing the fact that you can do this pretty healthily. Now, you don't have to necessarily smite this unless you're afraid they're going to take it, but if you do smite it, make sure your W's up so that you go back to full HP. So as you can see, there's not really any of my time used for ganking, and the biggest reason for this is because ganking is actually a very inefficient thing to do. In many cases, you have to get a kill for ganking to be worthwhile. Sure, it could get your laner ahead by, you know, forcing sums out of the enemy laner, but in most cases, it doesn't really put you ahead. It puts your laner ahead. So if you're duoing with the mid laner, cool, that's fine. You can get your duo ahead if you're expecting them to carry you. But if you are looking to carry, ganking can be very inefficient just due to the fact that you will be ganking, and if you don't get a kill out of it, there's no real net gain for you. You've wasted time you could be farming and traded it to get, you know, summoners that don't really impact you, because most of the time laners don't actually roam all that much, which is the whole point of this build, is the fact that laners don't roam that much, so you want to kind of just abuse that factor. So in most situations, I am dealing with a top lane main who's also very good about managing the wave to be very efficient in the early game. If he cannot win the early game, he lets it sit back and just kind of takes the net loss of it and lets me power farm to get ahead, in which then I go up there and take my revenge on their overextending top laner. Otherwise, what will happen is he'll win it, and then like he'll have 2 plates down on the enemy top will have 2 plates missing, and I'll just go up there with my Rift Herald and help make sure that his tower gets killed. Of which it allows us to open him to freely roam around the map and basically have a second jungler going and doing things. Now my lanes are getting support by somebody who's been pretty much ahead or even in lane, and then enables me to just be able to know that he can be somewhere on the map that I need him, so that I can be more aggressive in the enemy jungle. The whole point of this is to prevent their jungler from being able to play the game. It's not necessarily about killing the jungler, it's just about making sure that they get the message that this is an extension of your jungle, this is not their jungle. They get a lot less farm than you, they're forced to have to do stupid and bad ganks, and they're going to be behind in levels. So as long as your lanes are going even, you're winning. And all in all, you put a lot more pressure on the map because you're enabling your team to be able to be more aggressive because they don't have a jungler that can actually be all that aggressive. Like I said, ganking is not a very efficient thing to do. It's something that people do to try to get leads, but if they fuck up the gank and they don't get something from it, like a kill, then they're behind. So all in all, you've now set yourself ahead by making sure that his ganks are going to be less than effective in pretty much every situation. But if you can also tell here, by my pathing, so far I've had only one bit of dead time, and that is when I was waiting for stuff to spawn on my top side of the map. I've cleared most things that I've found efficient and time consuming. And like I said, if there's one of these, either mid lane or top lane is getting pushed in really hard, during that little bit of downtime, I'd try to find a gank in that little bit of about a minute window. And usually if I don't get anything there, oh well, it's more efficient than just doing nothing. But, you don't necessarily have to seek efficiency. And so the reason I'm doing chickens now is because at this point in the game, chickens are really easy for me to clear because they're still my first chickens, so they still haven't scaled at all, which means that I can clear them kind of fast, which adds a bit more efficiency to the camp itself. Most people think that that's a counter jungle to yourself in most ways, but in actuality, it's actually more efficient to just kind of ignore them because they take forever to clear early on and they do a lot of damage to you. So just waiting until you have items to make sure you clear them kind of fast and that you're outstatting them means that you just gain a little bit of free gold from it. You're not really looking for that camp to gain your XP. Your XP is coming from stealing camps from your enemy jungler. So looking at it this way, you then are maximizing your ability to just carry the game by ignoring the camps that are harder to take until a point that you can just clear them really fast because you are out leveling the camps now, if that makes a whole lot of sense to you. And it should, because you're just looking to out level everybody. At most points in the game, at 12 minutes into the game, being a jungler who is level 9 is actually kind of impressive. At the point that I'm also at almost at 10 farm a minute as a jungle, again, kind of impressive. And I hadn't taken any lane farm yet, just to kind of showcase my kind of clear path and build path for you guys, just to show you my pathing, to show you how I kind of do this. Now, usually, like I say, I come up here a lot sooner to take these towers. And even if I'm splitting gold, they just made tower plates so much more effective. And if you're two melee champions taking a tower, you can take it really fast still nonetheless. Trundle's also very good at just taking these things. So all in all, let's go back to the base so I can showcase a few of the things about this build that makes it really, really powerful that I haven't already talked about. Outside of the fact that you've now seen that I can clear things really with a lot of HP and don't have to really worry about somebody coming and killing me because I'm going to be a lot healthier than they are. On top of the fact that I just clear really, really fast. So let's get me a lot of gold so I can show you the max build on this, along with the fact that I want to showcase the last of my skill order. There you go. That's what I was looking for. Last of my skill order. Just to show you guys what my skill order is. Now for your last item, you have a lot of different situations. I'm going to leave it at 5 items for now because really I don't have a last item that I generally go. Most of the time if I get to a 4th item, the game's over. Like, there's not a need for a last item. If it gets to a point of a last item, you're kind of in a bad spot because you should have already ended by now. Like, it's not that necessarily you can't win at this point, but it's going to be a lot harder because late game Trundle, when you stop getting items, means that you're not spiking over your opponents. If they're catching up to you, that makes it a lot harder. This is all about crushing them before they can go even with you. So anyhow, let's talk about my item pathing, and then we'll talk about my runes, and then we'll kind of go over each independently why these things are really good together. So first up, we have Blood Razor. For those that don't know, Blood Razor is an item that just gives you attack speed, opposed to the other items that give you kind of like give you health or damage. This just gives you 50% attack speed, which really overall doesn't seem that great for a jungle item. Even though attack speed helps you clear faster, the item itself doesn't really seem all that amazing. Now it's passive, like all jungle items has a passive. This one specifically is a lot less powerful than say for Runic Echoes or Cinderhulk at the moment. And even Warrior has a stronger passive right now. But for certain champions, this item is the frickin' bomb. For instance, Trundle. This item is ridiculously good on him because he's known as a tank-busting champion. So the passive on this says, if you haven't already read it, up there, it says you gain 4%, you deal 4% of target's max health and physical damage on every attack. Every attack I'm doing 4% of their max health as bonus physical damage, meaning I'm doing a crap ton more damage to tanks. So if there's a tank that wants to fight me, this allows me to just shred them even more. And then you have the general, smite ability, which in this case I go red smite because it allows me to duel people better. They do less damage. I take less damage from them, and I do 125 bonus true damage to them. That's pretty nice. And then lastly, we're going to look at, and then you have Tooth and Nail, which is the do bonus damage to monsters, heal for monsters, gain mana, yada, yada, yada. Anyhow, next item, we have Blade of the Rune King. So Blade of the Rune King, if you don't know, gives you 40 attack damage, 25% attack speed, and 12% lifesteal. And then its unique passive says that basic attacks deal 8% of target's max HP as bonus physical damage. Hey, that looks very familiar, bonus physical damage. Except they buffed it so that melee champions now do 12%. So if we're looking at these two items together, I'm doing 16% of their maximum damage every auto as bonus physical. Now note, if they have armor, that means this negates it a bit. But if they are not a tank, that means I'm doing 16% plus my AD plus my Q increase, meaning that I'm going to beat the living crap out of you every time I hit you. So we'll get to the Q increase here in a bit as well. And then the active, it slows somebody, does 100 magic damage, plus it gives steals 25% of their movement speed. It's a really nice active for catching somebody. It's not really for the damage, it's more or less slowing them so you catch up to them and beat the crap out of them. Anyhow, next item, we have Swifties. I generally go Swifties. Swifties just got a buff anyway, so they're a bit better anyways now. Most people generally have slows, and that's a good way for them to get away from you. So you want to prevent them from doing that. If they have a lot of CC that are not slows, Merc Tread's the way to go. If they have no CC and they don't really have any speed ups, and you're really worried about the fact that they can trade damage into you with a lot of auto attacks, Ninja Tabby might be the route you go, in which you also, this last slot that's open, you might do into a Sunfire. Or you might do Sunfire and Dead Man's and kind of avoid the Spirit Visage, because if you don't really need it, then if they don't have Grievous Wounds, then you probably don't need Spirit Visage. Anyhow, gotta move a little bit. And then Spirit Visage. Spirit Visage increases all healing by 30%. That's the only thing that really matters on this item. The health, really nice. 450 HP, that's pretty cool. 55% magic resist, pretty cool. 100% base health regen, neat. 10% cooldown reduction, also nice. But if you could tell, I'm not really building cooldown reduction. He has kind of low cooldowns on almost all of his abilities anyways, so it doesn't really matter all that much. You're really just kind of worrying about your Q and your W anyways, and then you're using E to displace people, which you only need it for the every 15 seconds that comes up anyways, so it doesn't really matter. Most other builds kind of go maximizing CDR on Trundle anyways, but I like it so that you don't really worry about that. You're worried, again, about fighting objectives, which means you don't need to worry about your E as much. Though you do max E second, and we'll get on to that, and a reason for that later. Lastly, we have Dead Man's Plate. Again, the stats on it, 425 HP, 60 armor. Both of those are really nice. Again, for obvious reason, tank stats are always good. The biggest thing is you want the momentum of Dreadnought, where you start building up momentum, gain more movement speed, which means you run around really, really fast, and then it makes one of your autos do a lot of damage, which is called Crushing Blow. Basic attack, do 1 magic damage per stack of momentum. Discharges all stacks at once. At max stacks, if the attacker is melee, they also slow the target for 50%. So if you have 100 stacks, you go up to somebody and you Q them. It doesn't really stack the slows, so don't queue them. Make sure your first auto is an auto, and it does that for 1 second, and then you queue them, and that does another slow just a little bit after that, and then you can pillar them. So, you can permanently slow somebody with this champion, with this build. It's pretty nice. Anyhow, let's get to his Q. We've talked about his items. We've talked about the reasons for them. Really, the biggest thing about these, if you didn't get the takeaways for them, both our first two items give you a total of 16, together give you a 16% bonus health on hit for every auto. That's really huge. Swifties make you move faster. Merc Treads make you resistant to CDR, to CC, and then Ninja Tabby, they would make you, gain more armor. Your choice, really, whatever you need. It's a situational build there. Anyhow, lastly, Spirit Visage gives you better healing, and then Dead Man's allows you to chase people. So that's the reasoning behind items. That's all you really need to know about items. Items aren't that important other than that 16% health that we told you about, because that's a crap ton of damage, and we need to talk to you about why that's really important. So we're going to go to his Q, and with his Q is coming in the big part about Trundle's kit that makes him really, really annoying. Trundle's Q, it does 100% base, and then it does about almost 200% of your freaking max AD on top of that, which guess what? It also increases your AD by 40 and reduces your enemies by 20, whoever you crunch them on for 5 seconds. And your chomp is a 3.6 second cooldown, so you'll get a second chomp off that does even more damage. That then just increases the time that they don't have as much AD. So anybody who's based on AD can never duel you, because you will always have more AD than them by quite a bit. Anyhow, this ability is your bread and butter. This is how you get people. Your chomp also slows them, and it just says briefly slowing his target. Literally means briefly. It does it for a quarter of a second. They are slowed, which means they kind of and like it stutter steps them, which can freak people out and be like, "Oh crap, I'm slow," and it will burn summoners. Just FYI. We already talked about his passive earlier, where you heal from them. At max rank here, you gain 6% of the maximum health of the target that dies. So it's really kind of neat. Kill minions, kill champions if you need to heal up, stuff like that. Anyhow, your W, the next biggest ability in your kit. But you really just need it for its base amount. You don't need to keep increasing it for all the awesomeness that it gives you in the late game, because the late game you'll get there. You'll use it in the late game, but you just need kind of the early bits of it. Anyhow, Trundle casts coats target location in ice for 8 seconds, gaining 50% movement speed, 100% attack speed, 25% increased healing from all sources. As you rank it up, it decreases the cooldown a little bit, not a whole lot, and it lasts for 8 seconds, so it only has like a 5-second cooldown while it's gone. That's nothing. Anyhow. You just need it for the base amount of it. It increases the attack speed as it goes up, but the movement speed it gives you based right off the bat is just really all you need it for, and the attack speed is really nice as well. That little bit of an attack speed steroid is really, really good. It's a steroid overall. It just gives you an area that you are king in. Nobody's going to fight you, i.e. why it's called Frozen Domain. Anyhow, E is a pillar of true ice that pops up for 6 seconds. It will block, make it impassable terrain. Anybody who's hit by it will get knocked back, and then anybody who's in an area around it will be slowed. Really, really useful engage or catch tool. Also good for catching up to people who are trying to run away from you. Really useful ability. You max this second just because you want to get that cooldown down a little bit, and that's really it. You don't really need to max W. There's not a point to it. Maxing E is just more efficient just because it gives you lower cooldown on it, so if you have to fight, you have it more often. And then Subjugate, the other big piece of his kit. Trundle drains 35% of an enemy champion's maximum HP as magic damage, and 40% of their armor and magic resist half immediately and half over 5 seconds. The armor and magic resist is returned for 4 seconds after the drain ends. FYI, if you don't know how this reads, you are gaining their MR and tanky stats, and you're gaining HP from it, meaning that you are much harder to kill. So if they build a lot of armor, you gain it instead. So anybody who's building armor against Trundle is just building stats for Trundle. The way you beat Trundle is usually by building HP. But because of the 2 items we're going with, our first 2 items, you are preventing an HP stacking individual from being a problem for you to fight. Because if they have, something that prevents your healing, cool. They have a lot of HP, it means you generally can't burst them down. But our build path says, screw that. If they don't have a lot of armor and you have your R, you're going to hit the R on them, take away their armor. All they have is HP now, and you do 16% on hit. That's the whole point of this. That's the reason I like this better. Cinderhulk's really cool because you can stack HP and stuff, and oh cool, you get the Cinder Burst, and you're really hard to kill. But you don't do damage. You're more of a support role at that point. In this specific case, you are the carry. You are a melee ranged ADC at this point. You are basically a Vayne who doesn't turn invisible, that just runs at people and scares them and steals their stats. You were an amazing counter to stat sticks, and you're an amazing counter to tanks. You also just kill everybody else in the game because you just do percentage of health, and if they don't have armor, you're just going to kill them. That's the whole point of this, and even at that, that's a whole huge awesome point of it, but also guess what the objectives have? They have HP. What do they not have? Armor. Okay, cool. They also don't have grievous wounds. So you're just going to fight them, kill them, and heal up off of them. So you don't have to worry about that if all you're doing is fighting dragons and Baron Nashers and Rift Heralds. So that's a big point of this build as well, is that while, yes, you can now duel anybody in the game because of this build, you can also just fight the objectives, which is all I want you to do in the early game with this, and gain a massive lead for your team, and overall just win the game through that. So guess what, guys? That's been the video for PVE Trundle. Hopefully this has been a bit enlightening for you and helped you kind of realize some things. As for this last slot, kind of tell me what you think it's going to be. Tell me what you think is the best. Try it out. Tell me if you get to 5 items, tell me what you find out to be one of the best. I use either Frozen Mallet or Sunfire the most, though I think Wit's End is also a great item if they are just like a heavy AP scaling team, in which then, more MR is really nice. So thank you guys for watching. If you really like this type of stuff, just drop by my stream at twitch.tv/the_Lord_Nick. Or you can leave a comment down below and talk to me, or meet me up on the Trundle subreddit, or on my Twitter, which is on my Twitch, I think. I don't know. I don't even know what my Twitter is anymore. I don't really use it. But if you send a message to me, I might. Anyhow, if you guys liked it, leave a like, talk down below in the comments, and I'll see you guys later. And I hope you all have yourselves a wonderful, wonderful day. Peace.